I'm gonna press the. All right, great. And then let's see. All right, excellent. Okay, so come to find a comfortable seat. Usually I like to sit with a blanket or a bath towel under my hips. And if you sit one way habitually, see if you can sit another way. And then if it feels okay, you can place your palms face down on your thighs. And if it feels comfortable and interesting to you, you can close your eyes here. And then as you begin to settle into your seat, I invite you to invite your awareness to settle into your body. Maybe first taking note of how you are currently sitting, how you are arriving in this moment physically. And then see here if you can start to bring some intention to your seat where you maybe ground down through your sits bones, broaden through your thighs, and then start to lift the crown of the head, maybe like a centimeter or two closer to the ceiling. Then from here, see if you can broaden through your collarbones and then softly roll your shoulders kind of into their sockets. And then see if you can relax your bottom jaw while you relax the space between your eyebrows. And then from here, we'll take 3 rounds of breath to orient us into the space. So when you're ready, inhale. And then release your exhale either through your nose or through your mouth. And when you're ready, we'll inhale through the nose. And then your choice of an exhale. And then last time, inhale as an act of receiving. And then exhale as an act of offering. And then from here, you can either keep your palms face down on your thighs, or you can start to bring them together in front of your heart. See if you can parallel your forearms to the ground as I invite you all to bow your head towards your heart center, to take a moment to set an intention for our time together today. Maybe something personal that's bringing you to yoga and signing onto your laptop, or maybe there's something more collective that you can bring into your practice today. Again, there's no right or wrong answer, just something to bring some intention to your practice. And then when you're ready, we'll all take a round of breath together to seal our personal yet collective intention to be here. And so inhale through your nose. And then once again, use your exhale as an offering. Then you can release your hands and open your eyes. All right. Well, welcome back to those of you who have been a part of this class for a while, and welcome for the first timers. I really love my Thursday noon class because we get, because it's daytime, we get pretty active. And so I have an opt-in, opt-out policy. So anything that feels interesting or curious to you, feel free to try. But if there's anything that feels like not a today move or not an ever mood, also feel free to not participate in that. As long as you're breathing, you're doing yoga. So it's the you do you, right? And I'll try to make this short because I know we have an hour together. And when thinking about the intention for this class, I have a workshop coming up at the end of the month, which is talking about like the foundations of yoga. So going through like kind of the philosophical principles of yoga. And so I was going to like lead this class as a like, okay, like let's prepare for the workshop. And so I'll do little tidbits. But then yesterday happened. And so a part of me is like, you know, am I the person to say anything about this? And another part of me is like, is it irresponsible to not say anything? And so I kind of went with, I'm going, like, I would prefer to at least bring some intentionality behind this, and know that yesterday felt for me very scary and difficult. And, you know, my parents said this to me all the time as a kid, I'm disappointed but not surprised. You know, it's kind of one of these things that have been brewing for a really long time. And I've been trying to put a yogic lens on this. And I'm not an expert in any of this. There's so many voices out there that know so much more about this. And I encourage you to research. Michelle C. Johnson talks about it specifically in yoga, which I really love her work. But there's a yoga sutra that says for the discerning, right, which is like why we practice yoga, is to build this discernment, right, or to build wisdom to figure out this, not that. What's tonic versus what's toxic, right? And so for those building discernment, right, especially through yoga, or I think of this like anti-racism work, right, things feel more painful, right? The yogi, one of my teachers says, the yogi becomes as sensitive as an eyeball. So especially while we are engaging in our own yogic practice on our mats, or if you're engaging in anti-racism work, I know for me watching this stuff, it's just, yesterday, like felt so heavy because it's like, I'm just becoming more and more aware. And, you know, feels like a long time coming. And, you know, it's one of these things to encourage us, right? Even though it's painful, our pain has a purpose. And there's another practice in yoga called tapas, which is like a little fire to get us going. And that sometimes, right, we need a little like discomfort to move us, right? I think about sitting on the couch too long and then you have this little low back pain that's like, hey, right, you move, right? You do something about it. And so my hope is that, right, with this pain that's coming up and like right in our faces, like we cannot hide from our white supremacy government, or we can't hide from that white supremacy exists in the United States and that we still have a lot of work to do. That hopefully this pain that's showing up, right, can lead us to be more engaged in our own personal work regarding this, as well as our collective work. And again, I am not an expert. I still have a lot to learn. But I'm you know, yoga is one of the ways that, or one of the lenses that I use. So on that note, I figure let's move into our bodies. So today we're going to be working with a lot of strength stuff and building strength in our bodies, especially our upper body. And so let's get moving. Sound okay? So just a wrap, or like I'm making sure you have props. So make sure you have a blanket or a bath towel. Make sure you have books work great. And like a stuffed animal or something that you can move. I'll kind of explore it with you when we start to move. Oh, hi, Katie, welcome in. All right, so first we're gonna start in a child's pose. So you can have your big toes to touch. And let's start with our knees wide. If it doesn't feel comfortable to be in child's pose, you can always just lie on your belly. And I'll first have you start to walk your hands out in front of you, pressing all 10 fingers into the ground, and then see if you can lengthen your inner and outer arms more or less equally. And then on your exhale, start to sit your hips back and then see if you can lengthen through the space in your armpits. And then see if you can broaden both inner and outer armpits here. And again, we're not out here to be perfect where you broaden your armpits perfectly, right? It's just the trying or the attempt. Intention is more important than technique. And then when you're ready, we'll inhale, look forward between your hands. And then this time, walk your hands over to the left. And so keep lifted, right? See if you can lengthen through both your inner and outer arms, and then press your hips back and maybe start to walk the arms forward so that you get a little bit more space in your armpits. Maybe releasing your forehead down to a prop or to the floor as you release downwards. And then letting your breath be soft here while keeping it in your awareness as we move through these shapes. And when you're ready, we'll inhale to come forward and then walk your hand to the right, or your hands. And then on your exhale, we'll do the same thing. Again, see if you can lengthen through the space in your armpits and do it gently, right? We're building discernment in yoga to figure out what feels like good discomfort, that learning discomfort versus just painful discomfort, right? That's unnecessary. And so see if you can use these shapes as a way of opening with intention without forcing yourself to be any different than who you are or what your body can do today. And then when you're ready, we'll inhale to come up and then walk your hands forward. And then from here, I'll have you sit forward into a tabletop shape just for a moment. And from here, you'll bring the top of your right foot into your medial arch, so the arch of your left foot, and then you'll come to sit back on your heels. So it might feel really intense, and that's okay. If at any point you don't want to sit like that, you can always just come on your heels. You can bring blankets, do whatever you need to. So I'm going to be a little cut off in the screen, but that's okay. So from here, you'll interlace your hands and then bring your thumbs and pinky fingers to touch. Then you'll press the insides of your palms forward and then see if you can move your shoulders forward. It's kind of like you're pulling your low belly in. And if you're familiar with yoga, it's kind of like a cat position. Then when you're ready, we'll inhale to draw the palms up towards the ceiling, pulling the belly forward, even drawing the biceps back behind the ears. Again, they don't necessarily have to get there. It's just the movement. And see if you can move your spine into a cow position. Then on your exhale, we'll curl forward, cat. Inhale to lift up, cow. And we'll just do this a couple of times. I am aware that your feet might feel pretty uncomfortable right now. And so just see if you can move maybe for a breath more. And then when you're ready, your next time your arms are up, start to press the palms up towards the ceiling. Bring your low ribs in. So it's kind of like you're knitting your low belly in. And then draw the thumb side up towards the ceiling and then release your hands. And then come back into a tabletop shape. Then undo your feet, maybe tap the tops of your feet. This is my favorite yoga pose ever because it feels like a temper tantrum toddler experience for me. And so you'll bring the top of your left foot now into the medial arch of your right. So you're just kind of like nestled right in there. Or you can just have your feet flat on the floor if it feels really, really uncomfortable. And then come sit your hips back over your heels. And then interlace your fingers the opposite way. So you'll know when if it feels awkward, then you're doing it correctly. And then bring your pinky fingers together and then your thumbs together. And then this time we'll just start to press the arms forward and then curl the low belly in, start to curl the spine in like a cat position. Inhale to move forward, cow. And then exhale, cat. And so just move through this following your own breath cycle and your own breath pattern as we wake up the spine and also wake up the shoulders. We're going to be doing a lot with the shoulders today. And so just take care of yourself, and you don't necessarily have to go 100% the whole time, right? Intention is more important than technique right now. And then next time your arms are up, see if you can knit your low ribs in and then extend the thumb side up towards the ceiling so that the palms are more or less flat up towards the ceiling. Again, the cues aren't necessarily out, like I'm not out for perfection, it's just trying. And then when you're ready, you can release your hands down, walk them forward, and then untap your toes. Whew. All right, so now if you have a yoga mat, fold the yoga mat back. And then this is where you grab your towel and you bring it forward. If you don't have a wood floor in front of you, no worries. I will give you a different exercise. So in yoga, we do a lot of pushing, right? Like chaturangas and planks, but we don't do a lot of pulling. And so we're not strengthening the shoulders in one of the ways that they move. So this way, we are using a pulling action to strengthen the shoulders. And so from here, those of you who do have a wood floor, you'll come into a tabletop shape and you'll slowly move the blanket forward. And it's like you're coming into a puppy's pose. And then this is where you pull. You slowly start to bring the hands underneath the shoulders. Whew, so intense. And so see if you can do this slowly. If you do not have a wood floor, what I'll have you do is just move forward onto the shoulders in a like modified plank position, and then exhale, move back into a puppy's pose. So you'll just do this to keep moving in the shoulders. And then maybe to strengthen the shoulders, you hold this plank shape with your knees down for a little longer. So see if you can do about like 5 rounds. For me, I did it this morning and my shoulders were toast after 3. So see how many you can do with intention, right? If you do 20 of them and they're all like kind of haphazard, or you're using momentum, you're not building the strength as if you were doing like 3 of them with lots of intention, right? All right. And so when you're done, we'll start to bring it back into a tabletop shape. And then maybe shake out your hands, wiggle your shoulders. I'm going to watch the screen to see when people are done, because I know I'm teaching, so my timeline is like, okay, on to the next one. So I'll wait while everybody gets to quote unquote enjoy that exercise. And so especially, right, if there's wrist or arm stuff, using the big muscles in the back can be really helpful. And especially if you're wanting to like be creative with this, like outside of class, you can also do one-armed ones where you kind of put the other one behind your back. I was having a lot of fun with it this morning. Yeah, lots of shoulder work, isn't it? All right. So from here, you'll move your blanket off to the side, and then you'll undo your mat so that you have your full length of your mat. And then from here, so grab your bricks and place them at the front of your mat. If you don't have bricks, you can grab like 2 stuffed animals or 2 like small things that you can lift. And you'll bring it around like so that when you're lying on your belly, you can extend your arms. We're going to use them later, but just forget about them for right now. Then what you'll do is you'll come into a tabletop shape. And then from here, I'll have you walk your hands forward so that you can start to draw your hips forward, and so that your shoulders stack more or less over your wrists. If wrists feel really tight, walk your hands farther forward so that the angle of your wrist isn't as intense. Or you can come onto your forearms and just strengthen the shoulders in that way, okay? So from here, what we're going to practice is bending at the elbows and coming to find a chaturanga position. So come to sit back on your heels just to watch me for the first couple. And then give your shoulders maybe a little bit of a break. So from here, we're going to be working a lot with this, like, I'm going to say 90-degree angle, but like hold that loosely. Okay, so everybody's arms are different. We're all different body types and we all are strong in different ways. And so I say 90 degrees, but like hold that loosely. Okay, so from here, what you'll start to do is you'll protract the shoulder. So you'll press the space between the shoulder blades up towards the ceiling, and I'll work with you on this. Then you'll wrap the outer arm bones in. So it's like the outsides of the triceps are rolling forward, and that the eyes of the elbows are moving towards the front of your mat. Then on your exhale, you'll bend your elbows back and lower your shoulders. Again, to this more or less 90-degree angle. I don't even think mine go in this 90-degree angle. And then you'll push up back towards the push-up position. Inhale here, and then exhale, bend the elbows back and lower and lift. Okay, so while you do that, so we'll do maybe 5 rounds. It's like you're pulling in the low belly and keeping the space broad between your shoulder blades. So come into a tabletop to start with. And then from here, again, you get to work with where the angle of the wrist feels better. If you want to walk it forward, you can also put a blanket underneath to even increase the angle a little bit more. And from here, see if you can press into your hands and then press the space between your shoulder blades up towards the ceiling. So you'll see my shoulders, I can move them up, right? And then I'm gonna just work with you in the shoulders so you understand what I'm talking about. Then start to retract where you kind of, you move your heart down to the floor, right? Then press the shoulder blades up, or the space between the shoulder blades up, and then see if you can sink it to the floor, okay? So protraction is lifting the space between the shoulder blades. Retraction is sinking the heart forward, okay? Then come back into this neutral shape. So we're gonna do 2 more movements. So depress the shoulders. So you're moving the shoulders down towards the hips so that the shoulders are depressed, sad. And then you're going to elevate the shoulders. So you're bringing the shoulders up towards the ears. Sometimes I cue as if you're wearing the shoulders as earrings. Depress the shoulders and then elevate the shoulders, okay? So now when we move into this shape, you're gonna protract the shoulders, but then depress them, okay? Then move your hips forward, wrap the outer triceps around. So again, you can even use your arm to or hand to help you do that. And then exhale to bend at the elbows as much as you'll go. And then inhale to push up. Oh, so intense. Inhale here. Exhale to lower. Inhale to lift. And then exhale to lower. Maybe hold for 1, 2, 20 breaths. I'm just kidding. And then exhale to totally lower onto the ground. Okay. And then bring both hands underneath your forehead to just give your body a rest. We're working the shoulders a lot today, so do whatever you need to kind of let your nervous system come back to baseline. Again, a big part of yoga and strength building practices is building discernment as to what feels strengthening versus what hurts, or what feels like it'll actually take away from your strength. So in doing these postures or these practices, again, finding that nice little sweet spot where it feels strengthening and challenging, but not to the point where it feels like it's turning into shame towards yourself, or that you're pushing beyond your limits. Enlightenment is not if you can do 20 chaturanga push-ups, I promise. Maybe it's if you do 1 with intention and being kind to yourself. So now I'll invite everybody to come up onto your forearms. And so you're kind of in this sync shape. I also like to call it slumber party pose. So it's just to kind of watch me. So if it doesn't feel comfortable, get whatever props you need to make it feel comfortable. I'm gonna move the screen a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, So you'll either love this or hate this. I have mixed feelings, but it's always really good for me to do challenging things. So just watch me while I do this. So you'll lie on your belly, and then you'll lengthen through both sides of your body. And then my legs are pressing down to the ground and zipping up together, or they're wide on your mat. You get to decide which one feels better, okay? Then from here, you'll start to lift. So I have blocks. You can use stuffed animals, you can use water bottles, whatever you have in front of you, to inhale to lift the blocks and then lower. Keep them lifted as you lift on the inhale, lower on the exhale. Lift on the inhale, lower on the exhale. Whew, and then come back into a sixth pose. So you'll do this a couple of times. Again, if you only do one really strong one, you're doing great, right? It's not like quantity over quality, right? And we're working this so that we build the trapezius muscle, which is this like nice little diamond shape on your back. It does a lot of the work for you. So we're strengthening like the core of us, right? Okay, so maybe find really like supportive stuffed animals that you have in front of you to like give you the boost that you need, or bricks or whatever you have. If you have weights, you can also use weights. But you'll come to lie on your belly. I'm not going to do this with you because it's really hard to talk and do this. And so see if you can lie on your belly. Take a moment to like broaden through both sides of your body, and then decide if you'd like your legs together or your legs wide apart. But regardless, have them planted into the ground, right? So the most of your body is like rooted, okay? Then you'll walk your arms forward, excuse me. Lower the forehead down. And if the forehead doesn't feel comfortable here, this is where you can grab the bath towel or a pillow to bring underneath your head. And then when you're ready, you'll inhale to lift the arms and then lower them. If you need to lower the bricks or the supports onto the ground, feel free. But see if you can just keep them lifted, right? And then see if you can have your breath involved in this, right? And maybe doing the hardest version of the shape, and be kind to yourself while doing it, right? We'll only do this for a couple because it can be pretty challenging. Or maybe it's super easy for you. Maybe your traps are more prepared for this than mine are. Right. Then when you're ready, you'll lower whatever props you have in front of you. And then you'll bring your hands underneath your shoulders. And then inhale to press into a tabletop shape. And then exhale to come sit on your heels. If it doesn't feel comfortable to sit on your heels, you can sit in a cross-legged position. You can also bring a blanket or bath towel between your heels, like so. Or you can sit on a brick or a book. And so I'm going to do some shoulder mobility stuff with you. So this is where you'll grab your brick or a stuffed animal. So if you don't have, or a book. And so I'll show you kind of the exercises that we're doing, and then you can find your own version of them or what you need. So the first one is called the halo exercise. And so you'll hold whatever you have here. And it's like you're drawing a halo around your head to bring some movement into the shoulders. Yeah, fantastic. Okay. And so see, right, if you can do it slowly. So if you haven't started already, maybe you start. And if you don't have anything, just use your imagination, right? Like pretend like you have something to move. And then if you've moved in one direction, start to move in the opposite. This feels so good in my shoulders, especially compared to the other exercises. All right. And then when you're ready, you can release. Okay. So now the next one is moving. It's kind of like Gomukhasana arms, so cow face arms. So you'll bring the block in the right hand, you'll bring it up towards the ceiling, draw it back behind you, and then with your opposite hand, maybe you catch it, and then you just switch it. And again, well, your self-worth is not in these exercises, right? It's just to have a little bit of fun with our yoga practice and try something different that is good for our brain, right? And after you've done one side, maybe you start doing it with the opposite side. Usually I am all about wooden blocks and like really heavy blocks, but for these exercises, I use the soft ones because I have dropped them on myself and that was no fun. Okay. And then last time. Okay, and then when you're ready, release and shake it out. All right. So the next exercise is, again, if you have yoga bricks, great. If you do not, just use your imagination. It'll work well. And so bring your bricks here. If you don't have bricks, just imagine that there's something bringing your arms together. So we're going to be working with this like more or less 90-degree angle. And so first what you'll do is you'll grab your first brick. So if you don't have a brick, it's just like you're bringing your hands about, yes, whatever that is, Miranda, that works perfectly. Okay, then you'll draw your elbows in and you'll pick up the brick. Again, if you don't have a brick, just imagine that your elbows have something in between it. Okay, then pull in on your low ribs, reach up through the crown of the head. Then you'll start to want to straighten the arms up towards the ceiling. Holy shit. And then exhale to lower. Inhale to lengthen. And then exhale to lower. And then one last time. Whew. Exhale to lower. And then release the bricks. And then move them off to the side. You all are incredibly strong and capable. Whew, and I'm sweating. So now we'll be working a little bit on core. So come to lie on your back. This is in a Shavasana shape, but this is not Shavasana. We're not there yet. So come to lie on your back, extend your legs out in front of you. And then from here, bend your knees and then lift your hips and bring your hands underneath your hips. So it's like the L shapes are on the outsides of my butt muscles or my butt squish. And from here, you'll extend your legs up towards the ceiling. Flex at your ankles it's like you're drawing your toes towards your face and then lengthen through the inner and outer legs. Then from here, press the low back, so the lumbar spine into the ground as you pull in on the belly. So sometimes the belly has a tendency to push out. And so see if you can just draw it all in. Then from here, inhale, and then exhale to lower the legs. So you can lower it a little bit, or you can try to lower it like maybe an inch or two from the ground. You get to decide where you'd like to lower it. If your hips are popping like mine tend to do, that's where it's really important to knit the belly muscles together. Inhale to lift your legs, and then exhale to lower. And so we'll do this maybe 5 times. If you have 10 times in you, go for it. But we're just doing this to keep this action of the belly. So again, keep the low back pressing into the ground and the low belly pulling in. And maybe you do the advanced version and have a smile while we do some ab work. I think I'm so funny sometimes. All right. And then when you're ready and done with the last one, lift the legs and then bend the knees, lower the feet. All right. So from here, I'm going to turn this way so you can see me a little bit better. So from here, you'll bring your arms into the like 90-degree angle, and then see if you can parallel your forearms to the ground. Again, when I say these like cue terms, it's like more or less. Hold it loosely, find something that works in your body. And then from here, press your low back into the ground. Pull in on your low belly, and then draw your elbows in. Press the space between your shoulder blades into the ground. Then you'll bend, you'll flex at your hips and then bring your knees towards the elbows. Okay. Inhale here, and then exhale here. Then inhale to draw your feet forward, bringing your knees away from your elbows, maybe a couple of inches. Keep the low back pressing into the ground, and then exhale to draw the knees in. So we'll do this a couple of times. Keep the belly engaged. It's kind of like we're like a dead bug, right? Like all of our limbs are up, and see if you can bring your big toes to touch here while keeping the elbows in and the low belly engaged. Okay. Then last time your elbow or your knees are in, keep them there. Keep pulling in on your low belly, pressing the low back into the ground, drawing the elbows in, and then see if you can move your knees maybe like a millimeter higher. And breathing here. Maybe softening the space between your forehead or between your eyebrows on your forehead, releasing your jaw, and holding this for 10,000 more years. Just kidding. And then when you're ready on your exhale, start to release your feet down to the ground. And then this time come in to that Shavasana shape once again. It's Shavasana, but not Shavasana yet. Close your eyes, let your whole body just like plop onto the ground. Give your body this moment to let your breath return back to its natural state. And as you sort of watch the body and the breath settle here, see if you can bring to mind practicing that shape that we just did, but balancing on your hands. So imagine that you are in crow pose or Bakasana pose, and you are lifting and holding your body by the strength of you. And see if you can imagine like the steps involved into getting into that shape. So if you are familiar with that shape, great. Just kind of go along the steps that you normally would. If you have never done that shape, have fun with imagining how you would get your body there. And again, like our enlightenment or our self-worth is not wrapped up in these shapes, right? There's nothing special that happens if you hold yourself up there. But see if you can just imagine yourself there and what it would be like for you to trust that you can hold yourself. That you can stay lifted and grounded all in the same pose. Maybe even imagining how you would breathe in that shape and bringing that breath into this shape. And then when you're ready, start to bring some movement into your body and then eventually bending your knees. Rolling onto one side and then transitioning up into a seat. And then from here, you guessed it, we're going to be working with that shape. And again, these yoga poses, like, we're not here to serve the yoga poses, like, they're just here for us to practice these concepts in a really tangible way. And, you know, I also like it because it's like adult gymnastics. So I'll give you, sorry, I'm putting my hair up, multiple options where you get to play around with it. So if lifting or doing any of that or putting that much pressure on your wrist is a no-go for you, just lay on your back and do the ab work that we did previously. Or you can just imagine yourself in the pose. The brain doesn't know any different between imagination and real life. This is why we work ourselves up all of the time. So if you would like to try to lift, what you will do is you'll bring a brick or a book in the middle of your mat, and you'll bring both of your feet to the brick. Big toes to touch, knees bent, hips down towards the knees, okay? Then you'll walk your hands forward and have them about shoulder width distance. And then see if you can get your knees high into your armpits. Again, I'm just making suggestions of things that work for me, but you get to play around with this in your body, right? You are the expert of your own body and the architect of your own experience. So you get to figure out what feels good, okay? Then you'll bend your elbows back, draw them together, right? Like all of the poses we've been doing before. Then the trick is what I've learned, is you look forward. We oftentimes want to look down and move our weight down. Look forward and try to bring your weight forward. Lift your hips, bring your weight forward into your hands. And then see if you can go light in the toes, right? Maybe you move forward and you practice lifting one foot and then coming down. Maybe you lift forward and you practice lifting both feet and then coming down. Again, you get to make this shape your own and play around with it, right? If you're laughing at yourself, you're doing it correctly. And there's nothing special that happens when you're able to move forward. Again, maybe even just playing around with, what does it feel like to move my weight this forward, right? We'll do it for another minute or so. Maybe this is one of the poses that you were listening to me in the beginning that's like, no, not ever. And that's okay, right? And then eventually moving your feet off the brick if they're there, moving the brick off to the side. And then from here, walk your hands forward, walk your feet back, lift your hips up and back for our first and only downward facing dog of the class. So see if you can start maybe with bent knees, lengthening through the inner and outer arms. As you draw the hips back and lengthen through the side ribs, release the head and settle into your breath here. If downward dog does not feel soothing or relaxing to you, you can always come onto your knees into a puppy's pose. We'll just hold this for maybe 2 to 3 more rounds of breath, whatever you're needing. And as you hold this, maybe you start to press the heels back and open through the back of the knees without compromising the space in the back and the shoulders. And then when you're ready, we'll inhale to roll forward, plank pose. And from here, you can either stay up in plank or lower your knees. As you exhale, bend your elbows back. And for the length of your exhale, slowly lower everything onto the floor. Then from here, I'll invite you to come into a Sphinx. Well, you'll walk your left arm out to the left, creating a T shape with the left side of your body. So you can only see some of my arms. And then you'll bring your right hand underneath your right shoulder. Inhale here. And then exhale to roll onto your left side. Release the left side of your head down as you come to rest on this side. So if you need like a softer shape, you just start to roll more onto your belly, maybe grabbing a pillow or a blanket to hold your torso. If you'd like more from the shape or more sensation, you can stack hips over your right side more over your left side, and even bend your right knee to place your right foot behind your left leg. Again, you get to make choices out of discernment, right, to help you here. And then when you're ready, we'll inhale here. And exhale to roll onto your belly once again. Bring your left arm in. Walk your right arm over to the right. I have to move myself because there's a wall. And then exhale to roll onto your right side. And once again, you get to kind of discern where your body feels supported in space and where this feels like a gentle heart opening shape. Once again, see if you can keep your breath and your awareness here. As you lie on the side and let your nervous system reset and settle, maybe even come to a place of finding the possibility of relaxing. When you're ready, we'll inhale here and exhale to roll back onto your belly. Bring both hands underneath your forehead. And if you have bricks, what you can do is bring them forward towards the front of your mat and then grab a blanket or another block. And it's kind of like you're moving the blocks underneath your shoulders and then grabbing a pillow for underneath your head for a reverse shavasana. So you probably can't hear me very well because it's a little congested here, but you can see that I'm just lying here. If you don't have the props, you can always just lie on your backs of your hands and come to rest here. And we'll take 5 long, slow breaths here. But in a way that feels not forced, right? So we're not breathing for strain, we're breathing for letting our body and our nervous system find the possibility of relaxing here. And when you're ready, I'll invite you to bring your hands underneath your shoulders and then press the body back up into a tabletop. And then see if you can come to find a seat. And then once again, if you have a habitual way of sitting, you see if you can cross your legs the other way. And we'll go into a breathing practice. And it's called Bremari Breath. And I really love this breath, especially in moments of turmoil, because it reminds me of our interconnectivity. And so essentially, like, it's humming. So I'll just start to do it. And you're inhaling, and then on your exhale, you're like making a noise. And so I'll just start to do it. And because you're in your own space, feel free to do it with me. If you don't want to do it, nobody can tell that you're not doing it. So you can feel free to just listen and watch. And so when you're ready, maybe closing your eyes or having a soft gaze out in front of you. And just take a normal breath regularly. So inhaling through your nose, and exhaling maybe through your nose or through your mouth. And then from here, inhale. And then last time. And then from here, you can either decide to remain seated, or you can start to transition into a lying down shape for the last couple minutes of class. And then once you start to lie back, see if you can imagine that with each inhale, you are bringing your conscious awareness into your body. And with each exhale, you are softening into the experience of being aware and here. And then we will rest together in the final moments of class in silence and stillness. And then from here, you can start to bring your awareness back into your body. But first, start to feel your body before you decide to move it. And then from this place of feeling and sensing, start to bring movement and awakening into your fingers and toes and arms and legs and torso and head. And then start to plot your way into a comfortable seat, first lying on one side and then eventually coming into a comfortable seated position. And then from here, you can place your palms face down on your thighs or hands together in front of your heart. As I invite you to close your eyes and bow your head towards your own heart center, to take the time now to honor this place within you that is here for you to see. That our whole yoga practice is here for us to build discernment, for us to have the wisdom to see what is within us, what is for us, and how we can serve. Thank you so much for participating in my class, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. A big bout of gratitude to all of you. Thank you.